Today, I'd like to talk about where you are in the beginning. You've gotten a copy of the regulations. You've started to read the law and the regulations for social work here in Virginia. And you get to some point where it gets confusing. Everybody gets to that point at some point. And so you may have a question or a thought about it. And I'm sure people have told you, well, you can call the board or email the board with your question. And I'm going to put down below here the phone number for the board and the email address for the board. If you want to do that, you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to share with you, though, what many people have told me their experience is. They get in touch with the board and they get to some regulation and they've read the regulation and it's just a little bit confusing. They're not quite sure, well, what does that mean? And when you contact the board, you're going to get an answer that basically is the same thing that you just read in the regulations. There's not going to be a heck of a lot more content added to the answer. Now, why is that? The regulatory process is a very legalistic process. And the people who are allowed to tell you about the regulations, they're staff members of the Department of Health Professions. They're not the members of the actual board. So they are only permitted to go so far in terms of what they can tell you. And it ends up, a lot of people don't feel that it's helpful. And I think the best example of seeing what this means is when you send an email to the board, at the bottom of the email is a disclaimer. Now, I'm going to put the disclaimer up here. I'm going to read it out loud. It's going to take 1 minute and 30 seconds for me to read the disclaimer to you. So I want you to just bear with me for a minute and let me get this information to you. It says, any and all statements provided herein shall not be construed as an official policy, position, opinion, or statement of the Virginia Board of Social Work. Board staff cannot and do not provide legal advice. Board staff provide assistance to the public by providing reference to the social work statutes and regulations. However, any such assistance provided by the board staff shall not be construed as legal advice for any particular situation, nor shall any such assistance be construed to communicate all of the applicable laws and regulations governing any particular situation or occupation. Please consult an attorney regarding any legal questions related to state and federal laws and regulations, including the interpretation and application of the laws and regulations of the Virginia Board of Social Work. Under no circumstances shall the Board of Social Work, its members, officers, agents, or employees be liable for any actions taken or omissions made in reliance on any information contained in this email. So there we have that, minute 30-second message. That's a disclaimer. Now, I'll tell you, the first time I read that when I got email back from the board, I said to myself, what they're really saying is, don't believe anything I told you above in the email. And I thought that's sort of a discouraging message. That's sort of why I started doing these informational videos, because I don't think it's helpful to not get any kind of feedback or assurance or interpretation. And so I'll go ahead and do that. I served on the board for 10 years. I've been very active in legislative things regarding social work in Virginia. So I do have an experience to pull from, a knowledge base. There's no guarantee that the way I see things is correct. I think it's a little bit more humane and honest and caring for me to talk about it with you than the way the handcuffs are put on the board staff and they can't talk to you. So that's what this initial video here is about. And I hope you come back and check out some of the others. And if you need to have sort of a fact-specific situation you're in and you want some consultation, well, you can sign up for a consultation, so try to get you on the right track. And if you get stuck, then you can use the consultation option. All right, thanks, Dan.